Alright guys, we got a 2013 Camaro. We're just going to simply be putting rear pads on. They just made contact with the rotors. My wife complained that she heard a noise. Sure enough, I drove it and you can hear metal to metal. So we're just going to put pads on, unless the rotors are trashed. Now I've looked at the front of both rotors, or the outside face, the outboard face, and they're fine. So it's got to be the inboard that has made contact metal to metal. It's only been a couple days that she noticed that, so it's not going to be too bad. I've got the wheel off. First thing I'm going to do is just take a look around at everything else. You know, you want to, since you got the wheel off and you don't have this chance all the time, it's good to take a look at all the control arm bushings and anything else that, you know, you may want to look at. You got CV boots back here because independent suspension, so you've got a drive axle. Just take a look at everything, make sure everything else looks good. And then the next step, if you've watched any of my other brake videos, you know that I'm a big fan of just taking a screwdriver in here to compress the piston. To me, it's the easiest way to just put a screwdriver in and slowly pry that piston back in. Just steady pressure, and we've hit bottom. Now the piston is compressed back into the housing. Now let's just find the right socket. All we're going to do is take the caliper off. We're not even going to take the bracket off, and throw some new pads on. The pads that I've got, if I can get the right socket, hold on, where am I at here? Yeah, 14. Is the Evolution ceramic pads. And I'll put a link because there's some really good pads. Got new hardware that these pads come with, so that's always good. You can see right there where it just started making contact with the rotor. She never did hear, even though it's got a wear indicator, she never did hear that. And I'll show you the back side of this rotor, just so you can see what it looks like, and the fact that I'm just going to throw pads on it and it's going to be just fine. The new pads will polish that rough surface back out and will brake just perfect. Let me show you the pads we're putting on. Power Stop Evolution Plus. Comes with the hardware. I've already opened that up. Comes with the pads. You've got the dampeners glued to the back. Always make sure that whatever pads you've got these dampeners, because that's what dampens the squeal, the brake squeal out. And the first thing you want to do, if this is your first time doing brakes, you'll notice that two of these are probably going to be identical. So you got these two that just by eyeballing them, they look identical. These two, that has the wear indicators on them. You can notice the wear indicators are on opposite ends. One's on this side, one's on this side. You want to make sure that whichever pad you pull off that has the wear indicator, that the one you're putting on has the wear indicator on the same end. That's probably why that wear indicator wasn't working. It's actually loose on there. Now, I've never put pads on the rear. I have on the front. I don't know if these are factory pads or not. I could probably pull that number up and find out, but I don't really care about it. So obviously the next thing, you want to make sure that you put the right pad on the right side, whether it's inboard or outboard. Normally that's on the inboard side. Since we have new hardware, we're going to put new hardware on. Now, on yours, look down in here and make sure that it's not all rusted up. If it's really rusted in here, in these areas right here, you need to clean that out with a brush. You also want to make sure that your housing bolts here will freely move in and out, and both these do. If they don't, you need to take these, pull these out, throw some grease in there. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to do it anyway, but I always just check on my own stuff. I always just check, make sure they're moving freely, and if they are, I call it good. Double check, make sure that these are all the same. Sometimes these clips will be different. Sometimes all 4 of them will be the same. Sometimes 2 will be the same and 2 will be the same on the other side. These look like they're all 4 identical, so when they're all 4 identical, makes it even easier. There they go. Now I always bring a big pair of channel locks with me, because sometimes the piston will kind of creep back out, and a big pair of channel locks is nice to, you can use a big C-clamp, but to me channel locks have always been the easiest. You can see that piston is completely pushed back in there now. Very easy brake job to do. No reason to be taking it to a shop. And I don't put grease. I don't put grease on these. These are spring steel. I mean, this car's got 130,000. No, it's almost hitting 200,000. And if these are original, you know, other than surface rust, you can see that, you know, it's not like it's all corroded up to where it wouldn't be allowed to allow those pads to slide around. If you put grease on here, and a lot of people do, put the minimum amount, because if you cake it up with grease, first of all, you've got the likelihood that when it gets hot, it's going to sling over your on your rotor, and it's going to attract dust, sand, and grit. And as your pads slide around, it's just going to wear. It's going to act like sandpaper. That's why I don't put them on. The factory doesn't put grease on them, so I figured they probably know better than anybody whether you ought to have grease or not. So. And like I say, you want to make sure that your caliper freely moves back and forth. And that's pretty much it. I'm going to go do the other side, same exact way. And just don't forget that before you set it down and drive off, you pump the brake pedal. Because that piston's compressed in there. It's going to take 2 or 3 pedal compressions to push that piston out and make sure that it's smashing up against the rotor. That's pretty much it, fellas. I'm done. Not going to show the other side because it's identical to this side. You guys take care. We'll see you.